Greetings, dear viewer. This video is about marital infidelity, betrayal, and the consequences that follow. So, make yourself comfortable and let's begin. Eleanor stormed into her parents' house, her face pale and streaked with tears. The urgency of her arrival immediately caused concern for her mother, Penelope Strickland, who rushed to her side. "Sweetheart, what happened?" Penelope asked, wrapping her arms around her daughter. Eleanor collapsed into her mother's embrace, her sobs uncontrollable. Between her gasping breaths, she finally managed to speak. "Zachary, he's left me." Penelope gently stroked her daughter's hair, whispering comforting words. But Eleanor was too distraught to understand them fully. Her hands shook as she pulled a crumpled envelope from her purse and handed it to her father, Anthony Strickland. "He had this sent to my office today," Eleanor choked out. Anthony took the envelope carefully, his expression unreadable. Before even opening it, he asked, "Where's Benjamin? Is he with Zachary?" With a faint nod, Eleanor confirmed, "Yes. He dropped Kevin off here earlier, saying he needed to take Benjamin for some errands." She wiped her wet cheeks, her voice breaking. "Then, I got this." Her throat tightened. "Divorce papers." Anthony sat down heavily, his eyes flickering between his wife and daughter, who clung to each other as if they were the only things keeping each other afloat. Penelope murmured quiet reassurances while Anthony unfolded the divorce papers, his frown deepening. "No warning, no conversation," he muttered, barely able to contain his rising anger. He tightened his grip on the document and looked up at Eleanor. "He's accusing you of cheating," he said, his gaze sharp. "Is there any truth to that?" Eleanor's face crumpled with pain. "No," she cried. "I've never betrayed him. He thinks I'm seeing someone from work, but it's a lie. I love him." Her voice cracked with emotion. Anthony took a slow breath, his expression darkening. He didn't believe the accusation for a second. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. "Did he say why he suspects you?" Frustration flashed across Eleanor's face. "I don't know. Maybe because I hugged a co-worker after we closed a big deal," she said bitterly. Then, after a brief pause, she lowered her voice. "There was one time at a work event. I was drunk, and a colleague kissed me. I pulled away the second I realized what was happening. Nothing else happened, I swear." Anthony turned the page of the document, his eyes narrowing. "He wants joint custody of Benjamin, but he's completely disowning Kevin," he said, disbelief in his voice. "Not only that, but he's asking for Kevin's last name to be changed and his name removed from the birth certificate." He looked up at Eleanor, his expression heavy with concern. "Do you have any idea why?" The room grew tense. Eleanor and Penelope exchanged a horrified glance before Eleanor crumpled again, her sobs taking over her body. Anthony's voice cut through the chaos, steady and firm. "Eleanor, look at me." She hesitated, but eventually she lifted her tear-streaked face. Anthony's gaze was sharp, his voice as hard as iron. "He claims Kevin isn't his," he said, holding up a document. "There's a DNA test here showing less than a 1% chance that Zachary is the father. Is this true?" Eleanor let out a strangled cry, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. Penelope shot Anthony a sharp look. "You're not helping," she snapped. Anthony didn't back down. "Did you know about this?" he demanded, turning to Penelope. "Did Eleanor ever tell you?" Penelope hesitated, carefully choosing her words. Finally, she shook her head. "No. This is a shock to me, too. She's just as blindsided as we are." Anthony didn't seem convinced. His tone grew colder. "Give me your phones, both of you." Penelope stiffened. "Excuse me? If you have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be a problem," he said firmly. "Unlock them, or I file for divorce tomorrow." Penelope's eyes flashed with anger. "You've never had a reason to doubt me, Anthony. You're not getting my phone, and we are not getting divorced." His expression was unreadable, his voice colder than before. "I've ignored too many lies. No more. Watching my daughter let another man raise her child changes everything. Phones now, or this marriage is over. Penelope exploded, her composure finally breaking. Go to hell. I'll take you for everything you're worth. Anthony didn't flinch. He placed the divorce papers on the coffee table and stood up. Do what you think is best, he said quietly, walking into the kitchen. Moments later, he returned with a plastic Ziploc bag, flipping it inside out and slipping it over his hand like a glove. He began methodically gathering the used napkins from in front of Eleanor before sealing the bag. Penelope's voice broke the silence. What the hell are you doing? She screamed, pointing at the bag with a trembling finger. Anthony's expression remained unreadable. I'm contacting Zachary to find out which DNA testing service he used, he said calmly. He found out Kevin wasn't his son. Now I need to know if Eleanor is mine. Penelope's scream echoed through the room as she lunged at him, her nails clawing for his face. Instinctively, Anthony reacted. Despite it having been decades since his martial arts training, his reflexes remained sharp. When her nails slashed across his skin, he struck a calculated blow to her solar plexus, just enough to knock the wind out of her. She crumpled, gasping for air, terror flashing across her face. Eleanor screamed in panic as she watched her mother fall. Anthony, unaffected, turned and walked toward his office, not waiting for Penelope to recover. He packed his essentials, reset the Wi-Fi password, and walked out, leaving behind 3 decades of marriage. His first stop was a McDonald's, where he used the free Wi-Fi to access his accounts. With methodical precision, he closed their joint credit cards and transferred half of the funds from their shared bank account to his own, labeling it as a business payment. It was a clean, efficient move, and he wasn't looking back. That evening, Anthony arrived at the Davis residence. Adam Davis greeted him at the door, wearing an expression of quiet understanding. This couldn't have gone any worse, Anthony muttered. Adam let out a bitter chuckle. Calling it a disaster would be an understatement, he said, leading Anthony out to the patio, with a golf course stretched beneath the twilight sky. Bourbon, he offered. The 2 men sat in silence for a while, glasses in hand, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Eventually, Anthony spoke. How's Zachary holding up? Adam shot him a sharp look. You really have to ask? He's losing his youngest son, Anthony, and you're losing your grandson. Nobody walks away from something like this unscathed. Anthony exhaled heavily, guilt evident on his face. I can't even face Eleanor or her mother. Penelope knew there was a chance Kevin wasn't Zachary's and said nothing. Now, I don't even know if Eleanor is my daughter. Adam's face hardened. Babe is livid. I've never seen her this furious. If Eleanor weren't Benjamin's mother, I think she'd have done something drastic by now. Anthony gave a grim nod. Keep her calm. We don't need any more chaos. Before Adam could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. Babe! Stormed onto the patio, her glare fixed on Anthony. Why is he even here? She demanded, her voice ice cold. And why are the police outside? Adam lifted a placating hand. Relax, sweetheart. Anthony's on Zachary's side. But before he could elaborate, the doorbell rang. Standing at the entrance were 2 police officers, their expressions unreadable. Anthony met their eyes, his face resigned. I was expecting this, he murmured, turning to offer his wrist as the officers led him away. Adam called after him. I'll get in touch with Zachary. We'll figure this out. 6 months later, most of the turmoil had settled. Eleanor had initially resisted the divorce fiercely, suggesting marriage counseling before shifting to outrageous demands. A DNA test eventually confirmed that she was indeed Anthony's biological daughter. However, the revelation brought him little comfort. He still loved her, but whatever respect he had for her was gone. Their relationship dwindled to near non-existence, and Anthony doubted it would ever be repaired. She refused to let him see Kevin, his grandson. A pharmacy security photo showing Anthony with scratches and claw marks on his face became crucial evidence in dismissing a classic misdemeanor charge for allegedly assaulting his wife. At the same time, He found himself entangled in a bitter divorce from Penelope, a woman he neither trusted nor respected. She fought the proceedings at every turn, with her legal team stalling whenever possible. The impasse might have stretched on indefinitely if not for an unexpected act of violence. One evening, in a nightclub parking lot, both Penelope and Eleanor were viciously attacked. The women claimed they had no idea who had assaulted them, but security footage revealed a small, masked figure dressed in black, delivering a ruthless beating with what appeared to be a slender, weighted rod. The assailant struck with enough force to visibly bend the weapon. Both women suffered multiple fractures and lost several teeth, but remarkably, they avoided any permanent physical damage. From their hospital beds, they speculated that Zachary, Eleanor's husband, might have had a motive for revenge. However, given Zachary's towering 6 feet 3 inches frame, he was quickly ruled out as a suspect, leaving the case unresolved. The attack profoundly altered their lives. Their once active social presence disappeared, replaced by self-imposed isolation. They spent most of their time at home, bickering with each other. Gradually, they stopped fighting the divorce. The custody battle for Benjamin concluded with a 50-50 arrangement, naming Zachary as the primary custodial parent. Neither party received child or spousal support during the court proceedings. Another shocking revelation emerged. A court-ordered DNA test confirmed that Kevin's biological father was Andrew Hebert. Zachary's name was formally removed from Kevin's birth certificate, and Andrew was legally obligated to pay child support to Eleanor. The fallout was catastrophic for Andrew. His wife filed for divorce, leaving him to provide for their 3 children while also paying spousal support. Having insisted that his wife remain a homemaker since their first child was born, Andrew now faced financial ruin, one he was unlikely to recover from. Meanwhile, Zachary found solace in the steadfast support of his parents. Despite his wife's betrayal, he remained employed at Anthony's landscaping business, steadily helping to expand its success. His son, Benjamin, flourished under his care, though visits with his mother were fraught with tension. Each time Benjamin stayed with Eleanor, he was caught in the storm of her emotional outbursts. One moment, she would seethe with resentment toward Zachary, and the next she would break down, lamenting her loss. His grandmother Penelope remained embittered, her hostility toward Anthony unwavering. Her resentment only deepened as Anthony's charm and growing popularity among the single women at the country club became apparent. Despite the chaos that had torn through their lives, Adam and Babe stood by their son and grandson without hesitation. Babe, unshaken by the family's turmoil, maintained her formidable presence. Even missing a few clubs from her set, she still managed to claim her 5th consecutive victory in the Women's Golf Championship, proving once again that nothing, no scandal, no betrayal, not even family upheaval, could shake her determination. And this is the end of the story. If you like this story, then subscribe to the channel. And I say goodbye to you, my dear viewer. See you soon.